Welcome to our fan reading. Apparently, there's this weird thing called Cluke for Walking Dead Season 2. This picture represents it very well. It's kind of weird picture. Basically, for the pictures here, I searched up Cluke, which is one of the dumbest shipping names ever, and also one of the creepiest and weirdest. But it's a thing. Yes, people ship Clementine and Luke from Walking Dead Season 2. That's a shitty show, but the good game. But first, I actually want to go through some of these pictures here because they're pretty hilarious. This one's a classic. You guys just picked random ones like I was like, I found random shit like what the fuck? He's a mermaid, whatever. One guy ranting about how the relationship makes sense. Just some bullshit shit like this. Because of my favorite, so I'm gonna read this, and the pictures will just slideshow, so you see all these great pictures. This is I Can Never Be, in parentheses, Cluke fic by Hyperion Scum? I don't know. I'll have it linked in the description. It's weird. So there's like 5 chapters to this thing. Let's see how much I can get through. Probably have to stop recording because I'll probably get tired. So the disclaimer beforehand. This is chapter 1, Frozen. I do not own the Walking Dead characters. Remember, this is my first fic. So if there's going to be any hate, try not to be too mean. But I do like honest feedback. I am a Cluke / Clenny / Clee shipper. What the fuck? No, what the fuck? When I thought Cluke was bad, that's the one I always see. Fucking Clenny and Clee? Are you kidding me? Clee? Fucking... Okay. I didn't read the disclaimer, so I'm really surprised. So, these are the fics I'll be writing in the future. This is short, but it's just to test the waters and see if people like it. Also, there will be mature content in the future, so don't read. Luke is 27, Clem 11. That's why this is fucking creepy. Enjoy. Feel free to ask questions, and please review. It'll give me motivation to write even more on such a short notice. There's a smiley face at the end. And every time, it always has to be in a POV, because that's what they like to do. So the first one's Clem's POV. I don't need... Fuck, can I do this voice? Probably, just gonna read my normal voice, because I don't think I'll be able to do a Clementine voice, so... Are we almost there, Luke? We've been walking for a long time. Luke and I have been walking for what feels like days, but in actuality... was just a day. What? Day and a half. But in actuality, was just a day and a half. But it was. Fucking grammar. We had been out looking for supplies, but came back with very little. And now the sun was setting. It was uncomfortably freezing out. We collected a blanket, a few medicine bottles, 2 gallons of water, and a flashlight. Thankfully, there's a river for a fish, though, and we'd had canned food from where we last looted, so we couldn't complain. It's great writing here. Can't even read it. Shouldn't be too much longer, Clem. Just past the river bank, and there's the condo. Luke assured Clem. I get a drink there. Do you think Sarah will be alright? I don't know. I can't help myself doing a Luke voice. So, I know Carlos is gonna go on. You do think the best you could, but she has to be strong now. We can't carry her everywhere we go, Clementine added, while looking up at him, still walking in the direction he told her to. No one's POV. I honestly don't know what Sarah will do, but if she wants to pull through this, she's gonna have to. I'm sure I'll be fine. He kicked past a stick on the ground. This is so incoherent. Before they neared the water, with not much passage way anymore, the water was higher than before, and the log they had used to walk across was gone. What the hell? Luke thought to himself. Help me look for another way across. It's gonna be colder than all hell in that water. Clam, we couldn't just swim through that. You'll freeze to death, and ain't invisible either. Luke said through an anxious laugh, so he's laughing apparently. Ha 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 ha. That's my laugh. Clementine gave him a daring look at first, but walked down the stream to look for anything she could use to get across. I think I found something, Luke, Clem quietly shouted. Walkers are still on this earth. No shit. She didn't dare yell. Not anymore. Damn kid already? You're trying to make me look bad? He was used to her beating him in things, games especially. Even for her age, she could put up a challenge for him. He looked at about Clem. Yes, here, maybe this will fit. Looks a little rickety, though. Clem mentioned with her brow raised at Luke. Clem attempted lifting a heavy rock, only to fall back at first and try again. Luke had noticed this as he was focused on laying the large-sized branch across the river, edging it down, testing his weight against it when he stepped on it. Maybe we can put a rock beneath it to make sure it doesn't snap under us. It might not help much, but I don't know who's talking, so I'm just gonna do with that voice. But at least we'll fall on something if we do. He pointed out while placing a hand on his hip. Okay, pacing just a little, just before looking over to Clem, only to hear a huge splash. Let me guess, hotshot, you put the rock beneath the branch already. He laughed before hissing in pain. His ribs weren't healed still. It was a good pain. What? At this point, though, considering he hasn't laughed in weeks, months maybe. Ow! Guess I'm not ready for laughing yet, huh, Clam? It's not my fault you took so long, Luke. She giggled and saw an opening to get away from him and race him back to the condo with Sarah and Nick. What? Nick's still alive? What the fuck? I don't know what's happening because his ribs are damn. I was like, it's like it has no continuity with the game, so I have no idea what's going on. But they only mentioned two other people, so but it can't. But Luke's, I'm really confused, so don't ask. Or Nick, she was starving. Oh, let's see, where the fuck was I? Considering he has months, maybe. Ow, I guess I'm not ready for laughing. I need to go back. Nick. Opening, get away from him, and race back to the condo with Sarah and Nick. She was starving. Maybe Nick had something waiting for dinner. She looked back at Luke. She slowly began to cross the wood. Mindful of her steps, she was hungry and trying to race Luke, but she wasn't insane. As she stepped onto the grass, she grinned and stuck her tongue out with, "Guess I win, like usual. I'll see you back at the condo, slowpoke." He was determined to catch up to her. When he began stepping along the branch carefully, he was much heavier than her. Was he sure he could do this? He nervously took a deep breath and walked another step closer across the branch. His stomach felt uneasy about this, but she wouldn't win this time. He got her back for all her games she tried to beat him in. It may have been silly, but he wanted to prove himself even in the smallest of ways. The apocalypse gets boring when you have nothing to do other than scavenge. He was going to yell at her to distract her, but remember that surroundings and shifting his weight, causing the branch to break and him to fall into the icy water. He wanted to make a sound as the water froze his limbs in place at first, to try to swim out of it, but his only instinct was to panic at first, but force himself to calm down and swim back to the surface, and call out for Clem. His body stiffled when he made way across the river, and managed to pull himself up from the water by grasping on the weeds and grass to help him onto land. "Clem, come back! I need help!" Luke's vision suddenly began to get blurry while he looked for Clementine, managing to barely walk as he dropped back unconscious. So he's back again in the frozen water. This time he didn't die, though. Golly, fucking Bonnie bitch. Nothing. Spoilers. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2, no big deal. Here's the, I hate this chair. So, what is it? This is the, what, oh, well, this is, they have, fuck, can't speak at all. Here's the introduction for chapter 2, no big deal. This isn't a cheerful slash loving slash happy fic. This is meant to be rather emotional, and there will be rated M stuff going on later on. This is a graphic fic in every corner, so if that's not your style, don't read. Everyone keeps doing the same sort of Cluke fic, so I thought I would give it a go. Peace, leave reviews. I don't know the other ones, but the top one is actually a cheerful, loving, happy fic is more what it's like. The reason to be rated M is for well, we'll just see. Luke, wake up, please. There's a strong ring in my ears when I could hear Clem calling out for me. I managed to squint my eyes open and find Clem leaning over me. She looked worried, sick. What happened? I thought to myself. Shit, that river, I remember now. Shh, I'm alright, Clem. Just freezing. Like all hell. What happened? Pushing myself up on my elbows, I managed to lean up and get on my feet. Even though the heaviness of my wet clothes clung to my skin, giving me a shiver, I chose to ignore. The look in her eyes was one I hadn't seen in a long time, one I hoped I'd never see again. She pursed her lips and squeezed her arms around my neck, nearly making me fall back as I choked out a cough. I thought you left me, Luke. I'm so happy you're okay. I brought you here, kind of. Nick brought you back here. You were too heavy for me to carry you. I touched her face with my hand. God, she was beautiful. Ugh. Pure and beautiful. I shook my head in disgust, most when I leaned against the counter for support, looking around the room for Nick and Sarah. No one's POV. Asshole. You were freezing when I found you. I feel so bad for leaving you. I promised I won't do it again, Clem said through tears. Clem don't want to cry at that. I'm not going anywhere, Clemmy Clue. What, Clemmy Clue? They really said Clemmy Clue? You can count on that. I'm just lost my footing, that's all. I'll be more careful next time. Luke breathed and pulled her close into his arms with a nudge against her face with his thumb. Where is everyone, anyways? You were unconscious for hours. It's late. Nick told me to wake him when you were up and okay, but he looked too peaceful and he snores really loud. Clementine grabbing the hem of Luke's shirt, his eyes widening as he opened his mouth to protest, quickly growing worried about this. What are you doing, Clam? He whispered. You're still in your wet clothes. I have to take them off. Krista told me I had to when I was cold and soaking wet went inside. Here, the moment he left her small hands against his chest, his eyes narrowing. This felt strange. It looked strange. What if Nick came in and saw them? His hands went to grab hers, but she gave him a look that was reassuring. How she did that to him, he didn't quite catch that about her. I mean, everything seemed so simple. Okay, that should do it. Maybe Nick has something you can wear in his rucksack. Hang on. Luke just watched Clem walk around the place, her small frame looking for something in a hurry. In the time span, he managed to unbuckle his jeans and unzip his pants, hide behind the matted sofa that has patches ripped off. Not in a very good condition, but who cares these days? His body was shaking. His temperature must have been pretty low because he felt like his insides were about to shrivel up themselves. Clem, you find anything? I'm freezing here, he asked. Yes, I hope you like Santa, she chuckled. She ran nearby the sofa. Well, Clam, shut your eyes, please. His face was redder than apple. Apple? Redder than apple. As his blush crawled across his face, he was practically nude, but for some reason, still had his socks on. What the fuck? Was he Doug? He never felt this shy about her seeing him before. This was new. Before she was forced to go get undressed in front of him. What? And vice versa, but never full-on nude like this he is now. What? Why are you naked? Just body parts. I know what you have, Luke. I actually saw Nick's before. No big deal, she added. What do you mean you saw Nick's? He blurted out aloud, almost waking Nick and Sarah. Chapter 3. That's new. That's what's called. That's new. The introduction. So I almost had 200 views in my last night on my very first fic. It motivated me to write another chapter so soon. I kept keeping people interested, so there will be a lot going on. But for now, I'll be calm. Hope you are liking what it's going. By the way, a new character will be coming back to review session Joy. There's no new character, by the way, so it's fucking bullshit. And how exactly did this happen? He looked at her questionably, with his brows above the other. It was dark. I didn't get a good look at it. It was when we were back at the cabin, when you guys locked me in the shed and I escaped. I saw him near a tree, she said shamefully. Clem leaned over to pick up his wet clothes. You caught a glimpse of his lower half, naked, swelling. It looked like a lump in her throat, hoping he hadn't seen where her eyes were. So that's what Luke's thing looks like. Jeremiah tried to block out what she just seen, but saw his hands quickly cover his long member. Why the fuck do they always say member? When his eyes followed hers as he turned to face her, she could see him blushing when he rubbed the back of his neck with the other hand, eyes darting around the place before he began to speak, but Clem couldn't hear what he was saying over the pounding of her heart. It felt stronger and stronger with her lips parted from view. She had on the definition of the rest of his body. Clem's heart told her to look away, but her mind couldn't resist. She'd always cared about this man. She hadn't even seen anyone naked except Sarah. Ugh. She had talks with Krista and her mother at points about sex and private parts. That doesn't make... Her mom? She was 8 years old. She doesn't know what the fuck sex is. Whatever. Okay, let's go back. But what she was seen was more than she expected. His chest stood out above everything. He was too slim, nor was he buff, but his body was lean, and she could tell whatever he did was paying off. Carefully, she tilted her head up as if she was looking at the ceiling of the condo, her eyes still on him, making sure not to leave his eyes match hers while her breathing got heavier. Her mind fogged. Whatever he was saying was inaudible words when her eyes met the happy trail line going down the past his navel. Clem, you alright, kid? He knew she was looking at him now. He saw her looking at him the whole time, but chose not to say anything. She tore her eyes away from his body, tossing the clothes at his chest while he leaned back in surprise and picked up the clothes he was given. Here, try this, she answered as she broke her silence with a smile. The look on her face told him that she wanted something. She wasn't even sure herself, but the way he looked right now, it gave her a weird feeling inside, one she couldn't understand. Luke's face scrunched up at the sight of the small Santa and reindeer on the pajamas. You gotta be kidding me, he sighed to himself, but he couldn't say much. It's not the worst thing he ever had to wear, but he'd rather not be reminded either. Luke stared at her and slipped on the pajamas bottoms quickly. He couldn't stop staring at her now. Clementine was growing differently all the time. She didn't act her age for sure. She took care of more problems than he did. That's for damn sure, he reminded himself as he crouched down to hide himself from her view. Luke had been shaking for what felt like a minute. He was cold. The fire was lit, but his body trembled, and the goosebumps on his arm told him to sit close to the heat. The ugly pajamas he was wearing were a perfect fit. The fabric, not the ugly fabric, just the fabric was comfortable, but Luke wouldn't choose this for himself to wear any day, if he had a choice at least. Drink this, she commanded, with a stare of hers, holding a glass of water. He hated when he looked at him like that. When he looked at him like that. That's what it says. He looked at him like that. They've been close for a while now, and she was the only one he'd take commands from, light ones at least. Thanks, Clem. You're always looking out for me. I don't know what I would do without you. How many times you have saved my life. Clementine kneeled down in front of him closely as she held the cup to his lips. She liked the way he would look at her sometimes. It made her feel sat the cup down next to him. That's what it says. It made her feel sat the cup down next to them. What the fuck? Can you help me move the couch closer to the fireplace? She teased, hunched over in a mocking way. Or are you too old and dusty? She ran behind the couch and began pushing it closer near the fire with all her strength. It and to her surprise, it wasn't as heavy as she thought as it slid against the rug and cozy fireplace. Oh God, this writing. I guess you don't need my help anymore, do ya? He sighed, but not in a in an not in an unhappy manner, more amused than anything. Clementine always took care of him. Carlos would always try to keep Clem away from Luke when he was around, and never really understood why Carlos didn't like Luke being around Clem. Clem looked up to him. He protected her like she protected him, like her partner in crime. That was Lee, by the way. That was in chapter 3.